Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I have got a special one for you today. Full review of this amazing Bulova chronograph watch. Stay tuned. Everyone, welcome back to the channel, Merely on Time. I'm Chris and I unbox and review budget watches, and you saw from the intro and the thumbnail of this video that we're looking at the Bulova Lunar Pilot Chronograph. I believe this is one of, if not the best quartz chronograph watches you can get on the market today. It has really impressed me. For up until now, I have been saying that the Seiko SSB 031 is the best quartz chronograph that you can get, and it is certainly awesome. I'm going to do a comparison between these two watches in a future video. You can watch the review I did of the Seiko SSB 031. I will leave a video card up there for you to click on. So we're going to get right into the review. Thank you for those that have subscribed. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing so. I have a great giveaway lined up at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be giving away 2 watches, 1 quartz, 1 automatic, a really nice 2-watch collection, if you will. Highly desirable watches in the budget collecting community. So you're going to want to be a part of that. You got to be subscribed to be a part of that. So please go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And thank you so much for all of the support, everybody. It really has been overwhelming. So let's dive right into the review. We're going to do my up close and personal montage of this watch, and then we'll come back and go through the specs and just what I love about the watch. And there's one thing, maybe a couple, but one thing that I think they need to improve upon with this watch, at least with the model that I got. So check it out. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the up close and personal look at this watch. I think you can see, man, this thing is an absolute stunner in every way. So let's take care of the specifications of this watch. What we are dealing with is a case diameter of 45 millimeters. Now, that is when you factor in measuring just between this pusher and the top of the crown to the end of the case. And so that's the measurement there. It's 45 millimeters. When you factor in from the 9 to the end of the crown, it's 49 millimeters. You have a thickness with the supplied NATO strap of 15 millimeters, but right from the case back to the crystal without the strap underneath, 13.5 millimeters. Your lug to lug is 52.5 millimeters, and your lug width is 20 millimeters at the lugs. You also have a sapphire crystal covering this dial, and it does have a bit of anti-reflective coating on it, which is nice. It's water resistant, only 50 meters of water resistance on this, which is one of the things that I would have really liked to see different about this watch, is at least 100 meters of water resistance. You have a stainless steel construction on the watch head. If you want to call that the bezel, you can. It doesn't really have a bezel in the traditional sense, and we'll look at that in just a moment. And the pushers and the crown, all stainless steel construction. It is featuring a 60-minute chronograph, and you can see the complication at the 9 o'clock. That's your 60-minute chronograph. And you have 1/100th of a second complication at the 3 o'clock, which I really prefer that to the 24-hour complication that appears on a lot of Quartz chronographs. What really makes this watch special is the movement that is inside the watch. It is the NP20. It features a 3-pronged quartz crystal, and you can see on the subdial, this is the running seconds hand. I haven't pushed the crown in just yet, but it runs at 262 kilohertz, which is 8 times faster than a standard quartz movement, and it leads to an accuracy of seconds per year. Now, the amazing thing about this particular movement, I'll just push in the crown to get it started. I use an app called Watch Tracker, that Watch Wit. If you haven't checked his channel out, go check it out. Watch Wit, I'll leave a link in the description. He put me onto this Watch Tracker app, and you basically set the watch to the atomic clock, and then you enter data points throughout a period of a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. Over a period of 28 and a half days, I entered data points for this particular watch that I am holding. And this, in the 28 and a half days that I've had this watch, has not lost or gained a second to the atomic clock. It has run absolutely perfectly for nearly a month. The movement is absolutely fantastic. You will notice the running second-hand complication as it is going now. It beats at 120 beats per minute, not the standard 60 beats per minute that you will see. And because this is a high-frequency quartz movement, you'll see the running seconds hand for the chronograph sweeps really beautifully. To start the chronograph, you push the top pusher here, and just look at the sweep that you see on the running seconds hand for the chronograph. This rivals any high beat automatic movement that you can find out there as far as the smoothness of the sweep. Absolutely beautiful. You can see the 1/100th of a second complication running there as well. And of course, in order to stop the chronograph, you simply push the top pusher again. And the one thing that I would say with respect to this chronograph that I wish was a little bit better, that I do have on the Seiko chronograph that I'll be doing a comparison to later on the channel, is the reset. The reset is not as quick on this watch as it is on my Seiko. So when you hit the reset button, the seconds hand will return to the 12 o'clock position, but it isn't a snapback or a quick reset. It would have just been an absolute banger if it did that as well, but unfortunately it doesn't. So the other thing that really sets this watch apart from all other watches, especially quartz chronographs, or any watch for that matter, is the story behind this particular watch. This watch is a replication of the watch that Dave Scott, astronaut on the Apollo 15 mission, wore to the moon because his Omega Speedmaster broke. The crystal on the Omega that he had broke. And evidently there were people that were upset that NASA issued Omega Speedmasters, being that they were Swiss watches, and at the time the Bulova was fully American, and so it was significant that an American-made watch actually made it to the moon. And it is commemorated on the back of the case back, which you saw in the up close and personal, but we'll take another look at it here. And you see Apollo 15. This particular model of watch, again, this is a replica of the watch that went to the moon July 26, 1971 to August 7th, 1971. and the EVA 3 or extravehicular activity went on the moon on August 2nd, rather, 1971. And then the place on the moon where they went, the Hadley reel, and the coordinates for that on the moon are all engraved on the back of this case back, making this a very, very special watch indeed. So let's talk about the watch itself. The watch that I got came on this supplied NATO military style strap, I guess you could call it. The interesting thing about this strap is that unlike other NATOs that I have seen, this actually came in two pieces instead of being one piece that you would thread through. And I like the fact that they did that because they did that, you can access the back of the case back. So if you are talking about the watch with people who might be curious about the watch that you are wearing, you can show them the case back quite easily without having to remove the entire strap. So that was a nice touch. Other nice touch on this strap is this leather stitching that they put over the holes for the watch, and this will ensure that over time it won't fray or damage at those holes as quickly as they would otherwise, since they put that leather strip around the holes there. So that was nicely done. You do have some branding, Bulova there, as well as on the buckle, just a tiny engraving of Bulova on the buckle as well. This particular strap is very, very comfortable to wear, and it's a decent strap. I got this one because it was a little cheaper than getting it on the stainless steel version, and you can get this watch in a leather strap as well. From what I have seen on the Bulova website, on the Amazon website, this particular model with the canvas NATO strap, nylon NATO strap, is not available to purchase anymore. You might be able to find it on eBay or something like that. The one thing I would say about this strap that I don't like is just how tight the nylon is around the lugs. I have been wearing it on an FKM rubber strap, which is nice, but because the strap is so tight to the lugs here, it makes removing it a little bit trickier because you can't really see the spring bar that is in behind there. So it is a little trickier to remove this. It would have been nice if they put quick release spring bars in there for swapping out the band. And so that is a minor beef that I have with this watch. All right, so let's take a closer look at this beautiful dial, and you can see the amount of depth to this dial. The interesting thing that I found with this tachymeter, it sits flush against this flat piece of sapphire crystal. Oh, by the way, there's some Bulova branding on that push-pull crown that I didn't mention earlier, so that's nice. But this tachymeter, which really sits flat against the sapphire crystal, normally that would be, perhaps on a bezel, if you will, but it's all covered by the sapphire crystal, so you can see the rehaut there, or the flange. The tachymeter is printed on the top of that, and then there's some beautiful depth to this dial as well. So your chapter ring is set down. You can see the minute or second chapter ring printed on the outside, which sits below this platform that all of these applied indices are sitting on, and then below the platform where you have Bulova, below the 12, you have all of these subdials which are recessed below that. They sit a little bit higher than the chapter ring that goes around the watch. So the depth of this watch is just really, really well done. Other thing that you can see as I zoom in a little bit closer are the concentric radial or rings around each of the subdials, and if you look closely, you can see that they have the same radial pattern going around the minute or second track that's been printed on the outside as well. Absolutely amazing design on this watch. Now, the one thing that I would say that I think would have been a little bit better to do on this one, given the size, given that it's a 45 millimeter wide case, I think the 60-second minute chronograph, the complication there is just a little bit small on the Seiko. It's far bigger, even though the Seiko has a smaller case size. So I wish that the subdials were perhaps a little bit larger, given the real estate that they had to work with on the case size. But otherwise, this is just an absolutely striking and beautiful dial, beautifully designed in my opinion, other than I think the subdial is just a hair too small. Now, the indices that you see in the hour and the minute hand are all loomed, as well as the running seconds hand on the chronograph, and I'll show you the lume now. It has great lume on this watch. Okay, so I'm charging the watch for the lume shot now, and I believe what they are using is BGW9, although it doesn't really specify anywhere that I could see what is being used, but you can see, boy, it just is bright and vibrant and easily legible. And as I fast forward through the time lapse here to the 5-minute mark, you can see it's still quite visible. Now, given that this is just my iPhone 10 camera, it's much brighter at this point by the naked eye than it is showing on the camera. And then when we fast forward it to the, close to the 10-minute mark, you can see that they start to fade, but by your naked eye, you can still see these quite clearly that the camera doesn't really give away. So the lume on this, it really is fantastic. It does its job. It will last you quite a while. So they did a good job applying the lume to this watch. And of course, here is the watch. Here's what it looks like on my 7.5-inch wrist. You can see that it is quite a sizable watch, covers quite a bit of real estate on my wrist, but it is an absolute beauty. So let's turn the camera around and let me summarize what I think are the beefs and what I think is beautiful about this watch. Okay guys, so now we're into the conclusion of the video, and I'm going to be doing a new segment that I'm calling Beefs and Beauties of the Watch, just summarizing what I like about the watch and what I think could have been done better. And so we'll begin with the beefs. The size of the watch, you saw the dimensions as we looked at them earlier, and really this is a shame because this is a watch, while it fits me okay because I have a 7.5-inch wrist, this is a watch that if you have a 7-inch wrist or smaller, is not going to be for you. I think if they had have narrowed down the sizing of this watch a little bit, it would have been more suitable for a larger variety of wrists out there. And so while that's not a negative for me, it's certainly going to be a negative for some of you, and so I wanted to mention that. Some of the other beefs that I had, the straps on this particular one are difficult to remove. I think they should have put quick release spring bars in there instead of just having to gnaw away with your Bergeron tool to try and find the spring bar in behind that strap, which is tight to the lugs. Only 50 meters of water resistance. Would have been great to have 100. The subdials are a little bit too small in my opinion, especially given the size of this watch. The subdials could have been bigger, made it that much more legible. And there is a ghost position on this watch that I have. It actually has 2 positions. There are some models apparently that might have a calendar or a date window in them. This isn't one of them, but I happen to have a ghost position on my crown. And lastly, the slow chronograph reset on this watch is something that I wish had a quick reset or a snapback reset instead of the slow chrono reset that it does have. Now that takes us on to what I love about the watch, and we have to say the movement. I mean, the movement is absolutely amazing. You know, for a Quartz watch, hey, listen, automatic watches, they need to be serviced over a period of time and adds an expense to the watch that, you know, in many cases for a micro brand watch, the service of the movement is going to cost more than the watch was to purchase. With this Quartz movement, how fantastic it is, the way that it's running, 28.5 days, hasn't lost or gained a second. All I'm going to have to do is replace the battery at some point, and the thing is going to go on for years and years and years. So the movement in this watch is absolutely fantastic. I also love the fact that it has a proper 1/100th subdial instead of a 24-hour subdial at the 3 o'clock. I love the design of this dial, the depth of the dial. It's just really, really well done. Absolutely love it. Of course, the heritage and the story behind this watch is absolutely amazing, and the overall build quality of the watch. You know, when you get a good watch in your hands, you can actually feel the quality, and this certainly is one of those watches. It is built well, made well. It is an amazing watch. It's going to be years and years and years in my collection, and so that is what I love about this watch. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this Bulova Lunar Pilot Chronograph. Thank you so much for checking out this video, and we will see you in the next one. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week.